So earlier I spoke about enabling MFA on a per user basis. In this video, I'm going to show you how to configure conditional access to allow or block access to certain users. Now, before we start the demo, I just want to go ahead into this conditional access link by Microsoft and just want to explain a little bit more about what is conditional access. Now, look at conditional access as an if-then statement. So if a user wants access to a resource, then they must complete an action. For example, if a user wants to access an application or service like Microsoft 365, then they would need to perform multi-factor authentication to gain access. Now, look at this diagram. You have a signal, then you have a decision, which is a policy. So you need to create a conditional access policy, and then you create the enforcement. Let's scroll down into this link. And let's talk about some signals. Now, signals can be users or group memberships. Signals can be an IP location. So your organizations can trust a certain IP address or can block a certain IP address. Authenticated devices, they can log in from certain devices and they cannot log in from certain devices. Applications, real-time and calculated risk detection. Now, common decisions. What are the common decisions that you can do? You can block access, that is the most restrictive decision, or you can grant access, but with certain conditions, like you either require multi-factor authentication, or you require authentication strength, or you require password change, or you can have different decisions based on your policy. Now, commonly applied policies are requiring multi-factor authentications for general tasks, blocking sign-ins for user attempting to use legacy authentication protocols, blocking risky sign-ins from different or specific locations, and so on. So this is what conditional access is. It's simply an if-then statement. If the user wants to access this, does he have the correct methods to access the applications? And if he does, go ahead and allow him. And if he doesn't, go ahead and block him. Now let's go back into the portal. Let's go to Microsoft Entra ID and scroll down to security. And under security, you have conditional access. Now, before I go ahead and start a policy, I just want to go ahead and put in named locations. So for this example, I would add UAE as a non-trusted location because I'm in the UAE and I want to block my access. The easiest way for me to show this demo would be to restrict UAE IP addresses. So let's go ahead and do this. Let's go to countries. Let's go to UAE and go to United Arab Emirates and click on create. So determine the location by IP address, right? And create. So now I have created a named location UAE and it is based on the IP address. So my IP address is a UAE IP address. I will try and block myself from accessing the Azure portal. Now let's go ahead into conditional access. And the first thing that we need to do is to create a policy. You can create a policy using certain templates as well. So these are certain templates that have already been generated by Microsoft. You have a secure foundation, you have zero trust, you have remote working, and so on. So these are templates that you can already use. Let's go back into conditional access. And go ahead and create a new policy. Let's go ahead and name this policy as block Azure portal. and let's select a user. So you can either select all users, or you could select more granular. You can select the users and groups, and then you can exclude certain groups and users as well. In this case, I'm going to select my user, and I'm going to select Cloud Sync User 1 and select. So I'm going to block Cloud Sync User 1 from accessing the portal. Let's go to Target Resources. Now you would like all cloud apps or selected apps. Let's go and select my app, and let's look for the Azure portal. You can block Office 365 apps as well, and you can block all these apps that are already predefined by Microsoft. Now let's go and select the admin portal. Next, we move on to setting the conditions. So over here, I can select my location from where I need to block my user. So if I click on locations, click on configure yes, selected locations, choose as UAE, and click select. Now over here, you would go ahead and put in your access controls. So if you grant access, you would require multi-factor authentication, require authentication strength, require device to be marked as compliant, and so on. So these are the grant access options that you have. But in my case, I'm going to block access, and I'm going to select. So in this example, if Cloud Sync User 1 comes in from a location of UAE, you can only report the policy, you can enforce the policy which will block his access, or you can just switch it off and just ignore the whole thing and let him just access everything. So for now, I'm going to enforce the policy and click on create. Security defaults must be disabled to enable conditioning access policy. So I have security defaults enabled. So let me go ahead and disable that. Let's go into my portal, go to properties and security defaults, manage security defaults. Let me go and disable this for now, and select my organization is using conditional accessing. So I wouldn't disable the security defaults until and unless you are using something else to block access, because this could be risky. So since I'm showing you a demo and this is my test environment, you can go ahead over here into your default directory and properties, and under security defaults, you can go ahead and disable. The reason why I'm giving this is my organization is using conditional access. So be careful if you're doing this. Click on save. And again, it's giving you a notification. Disabling security defaults will leave your organization vulnerable to common attacks. So I'm going to disable this now, but once I'm done with this demo, I'm going to go ahead and re-enable my security defaults. So I'm going to disable this. So now let me go ahead and select on and block the Azure portal for my cloud user. So let's go ahead and open an incognito tab. Let's log into the portal. Let's log into my Cloud Sync User 1 and click Next. Let's put in the password and click Sign in. As you can see, you cannot access this right now. Your sign-in was successful, but does not meet the criteria to access this resource. We have blocked Cloud Sync User 1 because he's trying to access the portal from an IP address which is in the UAE. Now, if you're in your test environment then please go ahead and switch on your security defaults. So you'll have to stop the policy. So if we go back to our access, let's go to the policy. Let's click on the policy and turn it off. Click on save. And now my policy is stopped. And if we go back into the overview, on the left-hand side, click on Properties. Click on Manage Security Defaults. And let's enable this. Click Save. So make sure that if you're in your lab environment or test environment, that you switch this on before you stop the lab. So thank you for watching. I hope you learned something today, and I'll see you in my next video. Thank you.